Welcome to Auto Off Topic. Hey, Brad.
Good afternoon, Andrew. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. It's Friday.
It is. We're recording a day late.
Doing a Friday night podcast.
Yeah, we had a family event over on this side of the country, so didn't
Friday night.
wasn't able wasn't able to record on Thursday night. That's okay. Be a day late and nobody will know. Except
Nope.
we just told them. Always,
Um.
always failing at that.
Oh yeah. You have to over-explain everything.
Yep.
All right.
Or else it didn't happen. It's okay though, because by doing the family event, I actually got some more content for tonight's podcast. So we'll get into that
Okay,
later.
that's fair.
Yeah.
I I mean, we'll hit you with it now. Come over to the Discord server.
Yeah, talk
There's
about it early. Yeah.
there's maybe 15 of us.
Literally tens of us.
Yeah, come on over.
Yeah,
It's
it's a good
fun.
time. Yep.
It's free. You can talk to us during the week. We'll distract you from
Yeah.
work.
More importantly, you can talk to other people
Yeah, that's true.
that are all like-minded individuals.
They're all into the same thing.
Mostly, yeah. We all have our own individual tastes, but at the end of the day, we all just love crappy old cars. So
This is true.
works out well. Works out well,
So
and
anyway,
maybe you'll even make a new friend.
yeah.
And that's
So
what this is
yeah,
all
hit
about:
us
making new
if
friends.
you just message us on Instagram. It's probably the easiest. We'll just send you the link to join.
Sure thing. Yeah, Instagram is probably the easiest, unless you have our personal phone numbers. You can text us, but Instagram messaging is probably the easiest way to get it because we pay most attention to that. So
Yeah, it doesn't work that well with the Facebook page for the podcast because it doesn't come through Messenger. It's weird. Just
because it's a business page and it's through our personal pages, we don't get an alert when we get a message. And sometimes, like 4 days later, it's like, oh crap, I have a message in there to respond to. So,
yeah,
yeah,
it's the
Instagram's
weirdest
just
thing.
better. There's got to be a better way. If only we had an email address that we checked constantly.
Oh, I haven't even thought about that in a while. Oh no.
Yeah, so I still have one active for my Vine
Yeah.
company. And I had got a phone call from a guy who's been trying to email me on there. He's been trying to buy my car for years, apparently. So
Which car?
the Blue Colt.
When was it for sale?
I put it for sale when I needed some cash back in like 2016. So,
Ah.
yeah.
Well, good news. It's just all spam.
Oh, good.
It's all just stuff from that YouTube normally sends you and stuff
Right.
that Podbean normally sends you,
Perfect.
and stuff from Squarespace, our website host. So it's
So you're admitting
literally
on air
nothing.
that nobody cares to email us. Perfect.
No.
I like it.
And
Anyway, Andrew,
I'm deleting them all now.
what have you been up to this week? Any good car stuff?
Well, I mean, there's some stuff going on. The Huna Pegasus
Mm-hmm.
thing. Surprise. Well, didn't surprise me.
I think a
Not
lot of motorsports followers were not surprised because there was no R&D done, and it was like, hey, we're going to build this car from scratch and then go try to tackle Pikes Peak, one of the notoriously hardest
I feel like it wasn't
hill
even
climbs
that. It
ever.
was just like, hey, we built this car and now we're going to do Pikes Peak. And everybody was like, what? Where did this car come from?
Right, they built it in a hurry. That's the problem. There was no development at all. They have a couple of like short track days on it since they finished it. Like the night they revealed it to the public was what, like a month ago,
Yeah.
and it wasn't running yet.
Yeah. So,
It was just a roller a month ago. So I don't know in what world you think you can build a competitive race car in a month or 2 months or whatever, and then not run any kind of R&D and expect it to last through all practice sessions, qualifying, and racing at Pikes Peak. I listen, credit for trying. I'm not saying that it is what it is, but I don't know in what world that was going to be a good thing.
yeah. So it didn't make it.
Did not make it. No,
Probably good because the videos of it did not look stable at all.
no, no. And some people whose opinions I trust were talking about who built the car and who designed the suspension and the fact that they don't actually have any road race experience. It was
Yeah.
like a truck suspension company guy, like trophy trucks, which is
Yeah.
cool. He's probably really good at building trophy trucks, but probably has a thing or two to learn about road race cars
And
and downforce.
um, Pikes Peak's pretty smooth, actually. It's all paved. It's actually,
Sure.
compared to Mount Washington, it's a 2-lane highway.
Right.
Like it's huge and it's flat. Well, the road is flat. It goes
Yeah.
up in elevation,
It
obviously.
goes flat uphill, but it's flat.
Yeah.
It's not bumpy.
No, it's actually in really good shape because normally you can only drive 25 miles an hour on it, so it's not
Sure.
doesn't get beat up.
Well, it doesn't have the same extreme temperature changes that Mount Washington has either. So, like, it's cold, but it doesn't swing as much during a day.
Maybe it does. I honestly don't know. It's
Yeah, I don't think
14,000
it
feet.
does. Well, they talk about Mount Washington having some of the most extreme temperatures in North America. So, temperature
Well,
changes.
yeah. I mean, they did the hill climb in August of last year,
Mm-hmm.
and in years past they've done it in July. But it would have last year. It would have happened on the same weekend as the Goodwood Festival of Speed, which we'll get to in a second.
Sure.
And Pastrana was running that in the why am I
Air
Air Slayer?
Slayer.
I'm like blanking
Yeah.
on what that car was called. Uh,
It's a
so they
simpler name
moved
than
it.
Luna Pegasus.
Yeah, so they moved it to August. But anyway, my point was last weekend they got which was June. They got snow at the top, like a
Yeah.
lot of snow,
Yeah, a
and
significant amount of snow.
a hiker actually died. Um,
Well, that took a turn.
well, I'm just saying it's like they just don't realize because you can just drive to the top of Mount Washington. No, it's like no, people die up there all the time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
super
not
deadly
pretty.
mountain because of the weather. It's so ridiculous.
I mean, honestly, we just had a whole group of hikers out here in Arizona that went hiking in the middle of the day yesterday, and they got almost died.
Yeah, it's summer for you. Like you,
Yeah. Yeah, it's 110 degrees, and you don't go hiking unprepared.
yeah, because when you guys go hiking in the wintertime, right? You don't go.
If not in the wintertime, at like 4:30 a.m.
Yeah,
I mean, truthfully, if you're asking me, Andrew, I don't really hike, but people
trying to
out
give you some
here,
credit here, man.
people out here go hiking. I've gone a few times. Last time I went hiking, I got deathly ill afterwards. Unrelated, I'm sure, but I'm going to pretend it was related. So, hiking and me aren't the best friends.
Allergic to hiking.
No, I do need to do it more, but that's a whole other conversation for a whole different podcast.
But
So, tune into our
right.
health and wellness podcast, Health Off Topic.
Yeah, so the Hoon Pickers is not running Pikes Peak, which Pikes Peak is this coming weekend.
Yes.
I don't even know who the favorite is. I don't even know anything else that's running. I don't know
No,
if there's
because
an electric
all
car.
of the coverage I've seen has been covered by the Hoonigan stuff because of the like marketing like juggernaut that they are. They kind of dominate all coverage when they do something
Yeah,
because they just do. That's their whole thing. They're a marketing company that happens to have race cars, so they're really good at being the number one story. So I'm sure we could look it up pretty quickly. I know Randy Popes is back out there in a Tesla. I've seen some coverage of that.
well,
But
we'll just wait till it happens and then we'll talk about it next
yeah,
time.
we can have a whole conversation about it next week.
So I'll have to look up, check it out. Wait,
Hopefully,
I
there'll be
forget
some
what
coverage somewhere.
next weekend. So it's this. I think I said it was happening this weekend, but it's happening next weekend. But we are at the weekend. But it's usually
It's
it's the
Friday.
last weekend in June.
Yes.
It goes into July.
Yeah.
All right. I can't believe we're at the last weekend in June already. I've actually got a track day coming up next week, so
Time
should
is
be
flying.
But the Goodwood Festival of Speed is this weekend, and
It's actually currently right now. There's a live stream on their website, which is, I think they're doing like a repeat right now because
must be.
technically, I mean, it should be 2:56 in the morning, and there's
Yeah.
sunlight out. So I know London's not that close to the North Pole. I don't
No.
think there's going to be sunlight there. So it gets dark at night. So
yeah, I've seen a couple quick videos of cars running up the hill. It's pretty cool. that electric fan that Ford built, super cool.
Yeah, so that would be Supervan 4 or
I
5.
guess. I
Supervan
don't know.
5. Because the first Supervan was out of left field and totally rad. And it was a 1968 Ford GT40 that was just put on the under the body of a transit van and just made to run laps at like Nürburgring. It was ridiculous. And they did another one in the 80s and then one in the 90s. And I guess this is number 4 now, but it's all electric to show their new electric technology, obviously. But yeah, it's wild. It's cool to keep doing it. It's
Yeah,
been
it
a
sounds really cool too.
continued
It's like a
program.
giant RC car.
I have not actually heard it yet, but yeah, it's Ford Supervan 4. I probably should have watched it before tonight, but I
And
didn't.
then
I
I
know it's
watched,
1,973 horsepower.
yeah. And then I watched the Pastrana Subaru go up, which I don't know what they called that car.
I don't even know what it is. It's not the Air Slayer one anymore.
No, it's the one that looks like the old Justy wagon.
Oh, yeah. No, I haven't seen that yet either. Man,
Yeah,
I'm
which
behind. I
it's
guess it's
got
out to watch.
in the original debut stuff. They didn't show any of this. It's got like air brakes on it.
Yeah, it's
Like
got
the tops of the
full
fenders flip
Air
up.
Slayer. Yeah,
It's
it's
really
got full
cool.
active aero. It's a wild car.
And
Yeah, Super GL.
that, yeah, that currently is second fastest.
Okay,
I
but it's
think
like
the
exhibition class though, isn't it?
I don't think it matters. I think it's overall second
Oh,
fastest.
okay.
Yeah, and I think the first fastest is one of the Volkswagen electric cars. Maybe it's some electric like prototype thing.
So the Subaru is called the Family Huckster,
Oh, okay.
which is a very good name, actually.
That's also a good name. I don't.
Yeah. Who Pegasus is just a rare miss, I guess, by the
It's
guys.
really bad. Like it's
Yeah,
real bad.
Family Huckster is really good.
Like it doesn't roll off the tongue. It's not easy to spell. It's like bad.
Yeah, it's not a good one. Which is maybe why it's a bad car. That's why it's broken. It's revolting
Yeah,
against
it's
its
just got
name.
bad juju. It's like like I
It
said,
also has the worst livery out of any of their vehicles too.
yeah, like Hoon 11 makes so much more sense.
Yep. Like I said, even the livery's bad. It's some street artist that just paints with a rattle can. But I mean, I guess he's more creative than I am. But I could paint a ghost like he does.
You could also paint a copy of the Pink Pig.
Well, it's kind of that, but it's more his. So this guy's like main like claim to fame is this like very rudimentary looking ghost with a GC from Gucci for eyes,
Yeah,
and he
we
calls
we
it the
talked
Gucci
about this,
ghost. Yeah, did
and I
we?
was
I don't
like,
remember
it's just
anymore.
extremely derivative to me,
Yeah,
and I don't know
it's
why
so
that.
dumb.
I don't know why
I
that's
wouldn't think
cool.
that Gucci would be okay with it as a
Yeah,
brand.
yeah.
You know, it's just weird. Anyway, it's a bad livery, and the Family Huckster has a better name and a better livery. So
Oh, it's
because it
perfect.
has, yeah, it's the U.S. ski team livery from the
It's
'86 Subaru,
it,
but with
it's
plaid.
it's derivative of that, but for whatever reason, it works.
Well, derivative is when something is similar to something else, but not good. And there's a way to pay homage to something without being like bad, I guess. Like you can call back without being derivative. Being derivative is just like not original, you know? And I
Yeah,
think that's kind of the problem with the Huna Pegasus, where it's so many things. It's the pink pig and it's the Gucci logo and it's some random dumb ghost thing. And I think it just becomes derivative because it's not cohesive and it's not like the likeness isn't enough like anything to be good. It's just kind of meh. But I dig this car tremendously. I always wanted plaid seats in a car. I didn't know I wanted plaid doors. So
oh, absolutely.
it looks good. Yeah, it looks good. So cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to find this footage on YouTube of those cars going up the hill because I missed that today. So I'm sure I'll
Yeah,
do it again. And usually, Goodwood does a pretty good job putting together their coverage packages after the fact. So I think when they put stuff up all year, so like I still watch a lot of even the Goodwood revival stuff is still coming out all the time, different clips and different angles, and it's good stuff. It's good to follow on YouTube if you don't follow it. So Oh,
Yeah, I just was reminded of running it in like the last time I had a Gran Turismo game, which I think was GT6, and how infuriating driving up the hill was.
I didn't know it was even there.
Yeah, there was like a challenge you could do, and it was like Forza, where if you like just touch the side, it would like fault you. You wouldn't get a
Nothing
good
is
time.
worse though than the Top Gear test track in Forza. That is the
Oh
worst track
yeah,
in any video game of all time because it's totally flat and you can't see anything. You just have to know what to do.
yeah, it
So
was pretty bad.
I never played that. I'd love to play a Gran Turismo game again, but unfortunately, PlayStations keep coming out and being $1,000, and I don't care enough to buy a ridiculously expensive PlayStation. So it will
Yeah, that
be.
kind of it's. I feel like Gran Turismo kind of died off too.
Well, it
We're
died
like
off because
into it.
nobody can afford a PlayStation.
Well, that I don't think it was that great of a game because nobody's talking about it anymore. So
Yeah, they made a couple of stinkers, and then Forza kept getting better, and Gran Turismo just kind of fell apart. So
I mean, like the current Gran Turismo is what I'm talking about that nobody else is talking about anymore.
yeah, I don't know. I haven't been in that circle of video games much, so
I think there
couldn't tell
is
you.
a new. I saw a teaser though. There is a new motorsport coming out at some point.
I mean, there should be because it goes Motorsport Horizon, right?
Yeah, but they've skipped. They did Horizon.
I don't think they have. I think you look into it. It's Motorsport Horizon.
Nope, the last one they
Mm.
skipped.
We'll check back and fact check that and bring that back up next
No,
episode.
I'm absolutely right.
Okay,
It's because that's they did Forza 7,
sure.
which came out in like 2018,
Okay,
and then they were supposed to come out with a. They come out with a Horizon. And they were supposed to come out with a Motorsport, and they were like, nope, Motorsports Horizons sell better, so they did another Horizon.
Horizon 4 came out in 21.
Yep.
Oh, is Horizon 5 already?
Yeah.
Oh, how did you know?
Yeah. They were
I'm
supposed to do that, but they
behind the A
stopped.
wall here. I don't like Horizon, so I don't pay attention, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't not like it. I just don't love it.
It's not for us. It's made for a different type of gamer.
Yeah, more casual car
Younger
guy.
people like open world games.
Yep.
We
Which
grew
I
up with.
do. I like the open world game. I just wish there was more to it. I think it doesn't feel. It's just too over the top.
Well, to me, it's just
Give me.
boring to drive around. I can just drive around in a real car.
Yeah, but it costs $5 a gallon. You can drive it around for free.
It didn't when the game came out, but
Anyway, yes, I'm very much looking forward to the new Forza game. So I don't know anything about it, but I'm sure it'll be good. It'll probably wait until I have another. Um, it'll be a new console. I'll have to buy another console. I'll be mad and I won't buy it. So
just build a computer.
yeah, I'm done buying consoles. Anyway, did you do any car work this week, Andrew?
Yeah, so I went back and I looked at that radio that was giving me trouble in the G20.
Yep.
And I'm looking at the wiring that came with the radio and the instructions of the radio, the instructions of the harness. And then I'm looking at pull up the factory service manual, looking at that wiring too. And I'm like, I think this is missing a couple of grounds that didn't tell me to make it. So the factory radio grounds through the actual body of the radio to the chassis of the car. So there's no, if you hook up the ground wire in the harness to the new radio, the radio, the new radio does not ground through the body of itself.
Okay.
It's weird.
Like most did,
Yeah.
or most do.
So I had to add an extra ground that went to the chassis. Then it turned on. That's what was the problem.
So it just wasn't grounded.
Yes, but it was confusing me because I was getting there is a ground in the harness. That ground goes to the speakers, according to the factory service manual. So I needed to basically splice off of that ground so that it would go to chassis.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it was throwing me off. So
Now, is that because of the car or because of that model aftermarket radio?
I think it's because of the car.
Okay. So it's just a little different.
Yeah, so I figured that out, and then it's weird because it doesn't have. This car has factory amps. Most cars don't. Well, it depends on what the car is, I guess. But it also has a power antenna. So to the power signal for the amps is also the same wire that is the power signal for the antenna. So if you hook up, so I ended up cutting the harness and then I used some jumper wires to test this. So I had it plugged in and I hooked the antenna wire and the amp wire to the radio and turned the thing on. And the antenna goes up and I have sound out of the speakers. Like, perfect. Now I switched to USB mode and the antenna stays up. I'm like, well, that's annoying because I don't want
Yep.
to, every time I
You
use
don't
the
want
radio,
that.
just have the power antenna up because the thing is with a power extendable antenna, they are not flexible and they will just get broken off at some point.
Yeah, ask me how I know.
Yeah. So I'm like, that stinks. So I unplug the power antenna wire. It goes down. Uh, and I unplug. Well, first I tried it. Yeah, so I did that. I still had sound. I was like, well, let me just make sure this confirms. I disconnected the amp wire, and of course, the sound goes away. So I'm like, well, I guess I just won't ever have terrestrial radio, which is fine because there's like no
Which is
stations to
fine.
listen to
When was the
anymore
last time
at
you
all.
listened to it anyway? Yeah, every station in Boston market is a country station now anyway.
Yeah, so that's fine. So yeah, then I put it in, hooked it up, adjusted the color, matches pretty well. It charges through the USB, controls my phone through the USB. It sounds pretty good. So that's what
Now,
it
what
was.
brand radio is that?
It's a Kenwood.
Okay.
I've been buying
Just
Kenwoods lately because they work through the USB to play music on your phone.
yep. Which is
And
convenient.
some radios do not. They'll only
Does it also
charge.
charge while you do it?
Yes.
Okay. So that's super
Yeah.
convenient then.
Yes. You have to be careful because some will not do that. I was looking for different ones because it's annoying. Kenwood has a couple of versions of this radio. They're media receivers. So they have a shorter body because they don't need to have a CD in them. So that's kind of cool. So it takes up a little less space if you've got a tight dash.
I believe it's a lightweight racing radio.
Yes. And um, they have different versions that are like the entire faceplate is black. I'm like, that's what I want. And it's green lighting. I'm like, well, I don't love the green lighting it shows. And you look and you read the specs, the lighting cannot be changed. Okay. So you go to the next one up, it's got a little chrome around the edge, but you can change the lighting.
Ugh.
It's so annoying. So, I mean, you can barely notice the chrome on this thing, but
Yeah, I think it's more important to have matching lighting.
it is. And then on the G20, it's like this really lightish blue white. So it's matches pretty well. Uh,
Excellent.
so then I think I talked about I ordered a second one because I thought this Reman one was dead.
Correct.
So I had another one show up,
Which will
and I
throw
was like,
something else.
I was gonna send one back, and I was like, why am I sending one back? I need a new radio for the Talon, and I can just put it in there like in an hour.
Because the
So
Talon
no,
was high tech enough that it was an MP3 reader,
yes,
but
for
not Bluetooth.
CDs
Yep.
that I no longer have a CDR drive in anything I own.
Correct. Or a CD
Um,
drive, period. Let alone a
yeah,
CDR drive.
so I swapped that out, and it's funny. That was like one of the first things I ever did to that car, and my dad helped me put that radio in 20 years ago.
Yeah, because it's probably a factory cassette deck, right?
Yeah, it didn't work. I didn't have a radio in the car for a while.
Right.
It was dead when I got it. Um, it's funny. I didn't the way we put it in. Like I forgot. I kind of forgot. We were like I was trying to get it out, and then I was like, oh yeah,
It was
we.
20 years ago. It's okay, you forgot.
I was like, oh yeah, I did. I put like an anti-theft tether thing in there, like the Crutchfield instructions told you to do, like because people would steal radios back in the day. I don't think they do that
Sure.
anymore. I have no
I don't think
idea.
they do either. I was actually nervous because we went out to dinner last night and I went straight from work and I got back to my car afterwards. I guess I was nervous. I was like, oh, that was close because we were in like a not great neighborhood, and I realized that I have the brand new radio in box sitting exposed in the back seat because I was going to put it in
Oh,
this weekend. I was like, oh, that could have been stolen very easily.
yeah.
It wasn't, thankfully.
So, um, yeah, and then it's funny too because whenever I do radios now, I just use the factory brackets, and they usually work out pretty well. And then for some reason, we must have been. I remember buying this from Crutchfield with the install kit. We must have been following the Crutchfield instructions because we like used that like universal like holder thing that comes with the aftermarket radios,
Yeah, yep.
and
That
like
weird
it
like
clips to this
cage.
metal bracket that like bolts into where the factory screws are.
Sure.
So I was like, oh shoot, I don't have the brackets. So I think I have some somewhere. I have to look because it like it fits pretty well, but it's got a little movement in it because I basically just used the I reused the Crutchfield piece, and then this new radio came with its own little cage thing that I hooked up. Um, and again, that was super easy. I just reused the adapter harness I had and just spliced in the new harness to the new radio. But and
Yeah,
then
once there's already an aftermarket radio in the car, it's pretty easy to put a second one in.
and then
So
this one doesn't have any weird wiring. You just ground it to the body of the car. That's it.
nice and
It
easy.
didn't have
So
any
it's very
weird.
different than the V20.
Yeah, and every other radio has always been pretty easy for me to put in. I never had any weird trouble like that. But so that one, so I get it set up. It's nice and orange, and looks pretty decent. But
Excellent.
I haven't even driven that car. I gotta get that thing out.
I say the car hasn't moved since the season started yet, though.
It hasn't moved since probably last year. I just
Right.
haven't gotten to it,
Wet and
unfortunately.
a little difficult when you have a child to drive a car with no back seat.
It's not even that. I literally just don't have any time to go anywhere.
Right.
We
A
don't.
combination of those things, I'm
There's
sure.
no. There's nowhere to go, so we don't go anywhere. Don't have any shows to go
Excellent.
to, so
Well, you did two things then. Any other stuff?
no, that's it.
So I did a few things this week. Um, we'll start with the 944 detailing issue. So do you remember last week I was talking about how happy I was with how it's shining up?
Yes.
So I put the car under a cover next to the garage and didn't think about it again until Friday night because I was going to take it Saturday morning till 4 till 4. So I pulled it out Friday night and it looked like absolute trash. Like the whole
Weird.
car was just swirled and terrible and hazy and it was really bad. And I was super upset. I didn't know why. It looked like I hadn't done anything. It looked terrible. Maybe not like I hadn't done anything, but it looked terrible. I was embarrassed to take it anywhere. Let's put it that way. That's how bad it was. I was like, I can't drive this thing. So I took out the buffing wheel again and I rebuffed the driver's quarter. And I stepped back after wiping it all down. And I looked at it and I was like, it still looks like trash. Now, not only does it look like a faded paint job, but it also looks like a faded paint job that somebody tried to fix with sandpaper. I don't understand. So I was super frustrated and ready to give up and park the car and figure it out later and like pay somebody to detail it because I was so mad. So Naomi sees that I'm upset and she's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Obviously, I'm terrible at detailing cars. I might as well just jump off a cliff." Um, Obviously being a little dramatic, but I was super mad. So she's
So
like, "Well,
dramatic.
did you read the directions?" And I was like, "No. Why would I read the
No,
directions?
I
It's
threw them
compound.
away.
It's compound. You put a bunch of it on the pad. You spin the pad on the car. You wipe it off. You move on to the next. That's how compound works. That's how compound's always worked." So she's like, "Let me read the directions." And I'm like, "Fine, whatever. I know how to compound a car." Turns out, I don't know how to compound a car. So in the olden times, when I learned how to compound a car, when you used like the 3M Body Shop product, you just slathered on a bunch of compound and you used it as, the like a lubricant to buff the car out, right? You got the pad really wet. When the pad got too wet, you took a little spiky tool to it, you turned the pad on and cleaned all the excess gunk out of it. Apparently, if you're using these newer, fancy chemical guys products, you have to read the directions because they've changed the games. So she saw that it said apply 4 dime-sized drops to the pad and then work like a 2 or 3 by 3 area
Yeah.
until the product like disappears, almost disappears. I was like, that doesn't sound like it's going to work. So she does a section of the driver's side door, and then she steps back, and it looks freaking beautiful again. I'm like, great, that's how you got to do it. So I think that I probably had to go heavy the first time because the car was so oxidized. But then you need to finish it with much less product. I used a half a bottle of product the first time. So now on this Friday night, I redid the entire car again because I wanted to go to 4 till 4 in the morning now, and I was bound and determined. Even though 4 till 4 is like 7 a.m. and I was out buffing the car until 1 a.m., I used an imperceivable amount of product. And the car looked amazing. Like it looked better than it looked before. So I think what happened when I thought it was all good was I buffed it in the garage. I stepped back. Everything looked good. I put the car outside. I put the cover on it. And whatever product I didn't get off, like dried and hazed over. And it
Oh yeah.
became like a hard shell over the whole car, which is why when I buffed it again with a ton of product, it didn't take anything off. When we buffed it with the 4 dime-sized dots and then buffed a 3 by 3 area until the product disappeared, it took the old material that had dried off and kept the car looking good. So the car looked good again, thankfully.
All right. So now that we've become what we hate, a car detailing podcast.
We're a car detailing Porsche podcast, Andrew.
Um, you got me interested in. Oh, that's what I did do. I detailed the all track because it I hadn't cleaned it. Had all the winter funk in it still, so I
Right.
cleaned it out. But that's a new car, so that cleans up super easy. Um, and I don't let it get to the point where it's destroyed, so it's like easy to maintain, right?
Sure.
Um, I was looking at the G20. I'm like, I should really buff that thing out because it's like pretty shiny, but I'm like, you can see like it needs paint correction. Dare I say
Needs,
it?
needs a little love. It needs swirl mark removal.
um,
We'll leave it at that.
and all I have is the old McGuire's compound polish
Mm-hmm.
clay bar. And I started to do it, but it was like already like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, I can't do this. Like my
Right.
hands can't handle this. This car needs so much work. So it's like, all right.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
I asked you what you got, so so I ordered one of the Ryobi tools, the
Sure.
buffer.
Yep.
I got extra bonnets for it.
You went all bougie though because you got the battery powered one. I have
Well,
the
I
plug-in
have a
stuff.
bunch of battery ones already, so
Yeah.
and the handles look a little better for my hands. Um, but I went and I bought. I wanted to try the Chemical Guys leather stuff
Okay.
because the Gallant leather needs a little love. Even though I'd like to switch that interior eventually to something else,
I need to preserve it for
cloth.
now though.
But the Q45 leather definitely needs some preservation because it's in good shape and I like it to stay
Correct.
that way.
Yep.
Um, so hopefully that stuff, I'm going to try it tomorrow morning. It's supposed
Yeah,
to.
hopefully it works out well. Everything I've used from them so far works out really, really well. We even use their deep interior cleaner stuff now in the house.
All right.
Like it works really good on the carpets. Like we had some guest dogs here, so we had some guest dogs. Guest dogs like to mark their spot, and we had some urine issues on one of the carpets here. And the chemical guys, like we use all the regular carpet stuff you use, but it still had like that a little bit of a smell. So we use the chemical guys interior product stuff on the like house carpet, and it's brand new. It's awesome. So everything I've used so far has been amazing, and I use their quick detailer now. And their quick
Yeah.
detailer, like, do you remember when I drove the Saab home? Remember the little spot in the roof with the quick detailer?
Yeah.
I drove the car across country. When I got home, that spot was still like clean. And I used that quick detailer on the faded old blue Dodge Colt, which is like no clear coat left, and the car looks better than it's ever looked when I use it. Like the stuff works amazing, and it smells good too.
Well,
So
I still have a bunch of the ceramic stuff from McGuire's because I do like that stuff.
sure,
Plus, when I was at the
yeah, no, that's
store,
that's a great final wax thing. That's the way to
yeah,
go. The yeah,
that's the thing. The chemicalized ceramic was double the price of the McGuire
sure,
ceramic stuff. I was like, okay, I'm not spending $40 on a 16-ounce bottle. That's a
right.
little bit much.
It's a lot of money.
Um, and now McGuire's has like a prep and then the silicone, and the daily drivers get it. And then I was like, well, I should probably do the G20 because it sits outside. It's a dark color. I'm going to do
Yep.
that with silicone.
Yeah, I think
Eventually,
once
I
you,
might just do the Galant with it too if the silicone stuff works well enough. I gotta get the wheel cleaner too with silicone in it. Not silicone. Why I keep saying silicone?
yeah,
Ceramic.
yeah, you don't want silicone. Silicone's bad
Yeah,
for cars because you can't do any paint work afterwards. Yeah, no, I've been happy with every product I've used from them. I think the first thing I got was like just this interior spray, like a deodorizing spray that also had it was Cars and Coffee was the name of it, and it was like some like coffee smelling spray, and it was absolutely ridiculous. Arizona Jordan got that for me as like a Father's Day gift or something last year, and it stuff works so well. And then I went to a Cars and Coffee that they host at the Detail Garage shop here, which Detail Garage I think is owned by chemical
I think
guys
it is. Yeah, it seems like
because
it.
they all sell all their stuff. So I went to a Cars and Coffee because there's a detail garage like literally a half mile from my house. So I went there for a Cars and Coffee, and I every car I got in got a raffle ticket, and I won this like big bucket of car wash stuff. Like it was a bucket, it was a foam cannon, the soap for the foam cannon, a bunch of
That
different.
seems a little like kitsch.
Yeah, I've never used it. Put it that way, it's still in the box. I still just sponge wash. I plan on trying it eventually, but it says you have to hook it up to the pressure washer, and taking the pressure washer out is kind of a chore to wash a car, so I haven't used it yet.
Oh, I use it all the time.
Um,
That there's just like so much that people just really get into in detailing, and I'm just like, I
yeah,
that
if
is
you
too
get into
much.
like the detail of car detail forums and stuff, people go nuts.
I just
Like people will yell at you for using the wrong material in your bucket. I'm
oh,
like,
if
I
you don't
don't.
use the 3 bucket method or the four
Yeah,
bucket method,
yeah. I
you're ripping
use.
the paint off the car. You might as well be using sandpaper.
So the other thing I get made fun of for all the time, especially at work by the younger crowd, is the California car duster.
That thing works. That is tried and true.
They call it the kids nowadays, Andrew. They call it the California car scratcher.
No way. It does not.
Well, in their defense, I'll give them this. Anytime you're spreading any material over the car at all, you are probably causing some kind of microscopic
It
scratching.
it
And over
doesn't.
time, and hold on, over time, it might cause an issue. But,
Okay,
and
you
this is the
can't do
big
it when
part,
the car is dirty. It's like a
as long
light
as it's just
dust.
dust or light dirt and the car has enough wax or sealant on it, it's not going to be an issue. And I don't know how they live in the desert and don't use it because the car is constantly covered in something and you just wipe it down and move on. And I will take that to my grave. I will use that forever. I would use that on a multi-million-dollar Bentley, and I don't care. That stuff
It's fine.
is fine. Like
It's totally
I
fine.
use it forever. I've always used it. I like my car to be clean, and I'd rather my car have microscopic light surface scratches and not be covered in a layer of dust at all times. Because especially in the desert or in New England in the pollen, you can wash the car, and by the time you get in the car to move it, it's covered in dust or pollen again. So
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll use that forever. But I am starting to come around on some of these detailing products now that I've used them because they are really good. And I
Oh, there's
went to
definitely a shift in the
yeah,
technology, like in the
yeah.
last like
I'm
10
not I'm
years.
not going to go crazy and get the 3 buckets and buy the whatever material bucket they want you to buy. It's $300 a bucket or something stupid like that.
I've got the
I'm
little
still
thing that
just
goes in the bottom. That makes a lot of
that's all you
sense.
need. Keeps the dirt out of the rag. I don't even use that to be honest with you. I just hit the rag or the sponge with this hose to clean it off.
Use a sea
Um,
sponge with a microscopic stand in
no,
it.
I don't. I use the Ocello sponge that you buy for the kitchen.
Oh no,
It's
I use a
fine.
wash mitt.
It's fine. It doesn't matter what you use. I have a The one I
Washboards are
use,
nice.
the one I use mostly now is it's like a green microfiber like cube, and one side of it is like a microfiber towel, and the other side is like microfiber like um,
It's like a scrubby thingy. They're like the
it's
little
not,
fingers.
yeah, they're like fingers. I say they're like microfiber dreadlocks almost
Okay, yeah.
on the one side of it.
I have
That's what I
one
use.
that's black that I use on the wheels.
Yeah, yeah. I have one for the wheels, one for the car. That's I will go that crazy. That's as crazy as I'll go.
Yes.
I don't wash the wheels till I'm done washing the car. You use a separate thing to wash the wheels with. That fine makes sense. Some of this other nonsense they talk about is nonsense. But
I have a separate thing to dry the wheels and a towel to. I use a drying towel. I still use a water blade sometimes.
I use a water blade all the time. You know who makes fun of me for that? Naomi makes fun of me for that because she says it takes just as long to use that as it does to use the chamois,
I don't
and
like
she
the
might be
chamois.
right.
The drying towel works better than the chamois, in my opinion.
She might be right, but at the end of the day, I like it. I'm going to keep using it, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, to continue my story, I did the whole car. I rebuffed the whole entire car in the driveway that night. It took a lot less time because I didn't have to like cut through all of the the Radwood lettering and the Clarion lettering and all that. It was more just a touch up kind of buff to get all that product off. Car looks insane. Like it got tons of attention and compliments, which I'm not even sure why because it's just a kind of a meh 944. But apparently it's in other people's eyes a lot nicer than I see it. So that's good, I guess. I'm not talking down about the car. I love the car, but it seemed to get more attention than I thought. What I thought's a pretty average car would get. So it cleaned up really well. It looks really good again. So how I can take back what I said last week. What I said looked good, it didn't look good. It looked like hot garbage. This week, now it looks good. Now I've seen it in the daylight. All is well. So I did that. Did the windows, cleaned it up. Went to 4 till 4. Super cool. A friend of mine brought his TVR Cerbera. They just imported, which is super cool. Have never seen a Cerbera in person. Have you?
What? How old is it?
1997. 25 years. So
Huh.
it's the one that kind of looks like I would say it's kind of like a Dodge Viper toy without licensing.
I've only seen uh, old TVRs and then that one we saw at the Cars and Coffee in Griffith Park.
So that one was a Cigaris, and that's the one that I later saw in LA at race services. And I met the guy and he let me like sit in it and like touch the car. That one's
Mm-hmm.
cool. But the Subaru is same engine, so it's the inline six that's made by TVR. But it looks kind of like yeah, like I said, it kind of looks like an unlicensed Dodge Viper kind of deal. Like it's got real swoopy sides, a real flat roof. Um, it's a neat looking car. I'd never seen one in person. Guy here in town, his Instagram is AZFDRX7 because he has a beautiful RX7 as well. He imported it just like a month ago, so he brought that down. It was cool to see that. So that'll be a neat one to see it. Future events coming up. But yeah, I went to that event and then went to the like Saturday night cruise night down the street from my house here and hung out with some of the Arizona Japanese classic car people. Had a good little turnout there. And then I worked on the next day the Honda Civic finally. So I don't know if people remember, I've kind of touched on it a little bit here and there, but I bought a 1991 Honda Civic EX sedan. It's a dark blue over gray with a 1.5 D15 and unfortunately an automatic. But it was $1,000 car with ice cold air conditioning. And it's a pretty straight car for a 91 Honda. It doesn't have a salvage title or any history of theft. So it's pretty rare just in that front. It's in pretty decent shape. Jordan was driving it for a while out here and it dropped a valve. So I don't know how deep I've gotten in this car before. Do you, Andrew? Remember how deep I've talked about this?
I don't know if you talked about it dropping a valve yet. Maybe you
Okay.
did.
So basically, it broke a valve, so it wouldn't run. It would run on 3 cylinders. So we bought a cylinder head for it, a 1.6 cylinder head off of a D16, which is a well known upgrade for the 1.5.
Hmm.
Went ahead, put that thing all together, took out all the valves, cleaned everything up, did the lapping compound and the lapping tool and made it all good. Put that all back together, put the springs in it, put the cams in it, put it back in the car. Realized that the timing belt was not wrong. So apparently, when you go from the 1.5 to the 1.6 head, you also need the 1.6 timing belt. So that stuffed us up a little bit. Went to put the head bolts in. One of the head bolts is too long. Apparently, the casting's a little bit different, and one of the head bolts has to be short. So we're reading online, and there's a place that shows where you can just cut the bottom of the bolt off to the right length and tells you how much to cut off just to use that one. So we did that. So that was all good. Got the car back together, did all the diagnostic on it, made sure it was making spark, getting fuel. It wasn't starting. Went through it a bunch more, can't figure out it won't start. I mean, I'm condensing, 2 days worth of work into a 10-minute conversation here, but got the car all back together, cranking it over, won't start. Pull the top off the intake, like the fuel. It's an interesting system because it's a 91. It doesn't have like a fuel rail. It's very similar to the throttle body style injection on the Starion, where it's two injectors. So you can take the top off and look down inside, and you can see them spraying fuel, and they're spraying fuel to normal pattern. So it still wasn't starting. So I took the spark plugs out, put different plugs in, just because they were new plugs. Didn't think it would help, but you gotta try everything, right? Won't start. So we do a compression test, and it made 60 psi across the board. So 60 psi across the board is obviously not enough when the car calls for like 160 to 180.
Not great. You need like
Not
100
great.
more psi.
Right, which means essentially what's happening is there's so much air in there it's blowing the spark out, right? Or there's
Yeah.
no, yeah,
Well, there's no compression.
there's really no compression.
I thought when you typed that, I was like, did he forget to put a one? Like, did it just
No,
autocorrect the one away?
yeah, no, it was just 60 psi. So we didn't send the cylinder head out, which is something we probably should have done. But in the interest of time and money, we just looked at it and everything looked good. We put a straight edge on it and everything looked good. And it is what it is. And then I just had a thought the other day. I was talking to Ron, and Ron suggested it, and I didn't even think of this. Because it's a Honda, it has mechanical valves. It doesn't have hydraulic valves.
Yeah.
So because the head came off of a different engine,
Yeah.
my hope and dream and thought is that the valve lash is so far out of whack that it's not holding compression,
Yeah, that's possible.
which is a possibility. So I just had this conversation with Ron actually yesterday. I haven't had a chance to go work on the car yet. It's not at my house, so that's going to be, I think, some point Saturday or Sunday. I'm going to go down there and set the valve lash to factory specs and see if it works. So hopefully I'll have good news next week. If it doesn't work, we're pretty good at pulling the cylinder head and timing belt off of a single cam Honda now. I could probably have the entire thing apart in 30-40 minutes and just send it out and have the head gone through and see if the head actually is the problem or not at that point. So it's not the end of the world. I guess we tried to game the system and didn't work out. I guess I should know better, but it is what it is. It's not a big deal. It's a cheap car. I would like to get it on the road because I would like to save the mileage on my Eclipse, but we'll get there eventually, right? So I think at the end of the day, I'm into the car so cheap that even if the bottom end of the motor is bad, I can buy a used Honda motor so cheap that we'll just slap another motor in it. So no big deal. It's a good little car. I don't want to just stop now because I figure I'll probably lose my shirt if I stop now because I'll lose everything because the car's worth nothing not running, right? But I still
Right.
have enough. enough free capital, I guess, in the car to spend some more money and not be over the value of the car. Because what's a good EF sedan worth nowadays? $3,000 running and driving.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think
They're
so.
all
And
but disappeared here.
I'm still into it under 2 grand with everything. So I'm not stressed about it. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, so that's next. I hope that's going to do it. I hope it's something that simple. But if it's not, like I said, taking the head off of a single cam Honda is not exactly the world's most challenging thing. So we'll just get it done. The good news is now it's got a new water pump and all kinds of new parts in there. So new timing belt, new water pump. It'll all be good. And if I do take it apart, one thing I'll probably do again is buy the correct head bolts and change those over too. So, but yeah, I'm learning this Honda stuff. It's a pretty easy car to work on. I highly recommend them, except for that part where it doesn't run. But the the D15 to D16 cylinder head swap is interesting because it just kind of works.
Yeah.
It's not something that, like, in most cars you have to keep like parts with like parts, but these Honda engines are very forgiving. Everything just kind of falls together, except when it doesn't make a impression, but that's probably my mistake. So we'll figure it out. I'm not stressed out about it. It's not my only means of transportation, and it seems like a pretty cheap fix. And worst case scenario, there's a guy not too far away who has a whole entire engine and transmission for $400. So we'll be good to go. And I'll be a Honda
Cool.
owner for the first time, really, ever. Strangely, never owned one. But
Hmm.
it's a clean little car, and I think it'll be fun as far as content for here for cleaning the paint up in that too, because the car looks worse than the 944 did. But I think it might be kind of fun to bring that car back the best I can, and I think I should be able to. Because the interior is nice on it. It's a sunroof car. It's got nice glass. It's got cheesy aftermarket wheels, but I think I could probably trade them for a set of stock Steelies and hubcaps and just make it a stock little 91 Civic. Good little gas saver to go to and from work with. Well, anyway,
Good.
that's it. That was my project for the week. It was a busy week, actually. I
Cool.
ordered stuff for the Eclipse. So this weekend's plan is valve cover gasket, oil change, air filter in the Eclipse, air conditioning, diagnostic, and possible repair in the 944, and cylinder head diagnosis in the Honda Civic. So it'll be a busy weekend, and it's 110 degrees this weekend, so it'll be hot, but we'll make it happen. Hopefully, I have many more stories for next week.
Cool.
Anything else,
I
sir?
oh I actually drove the G20 this evening to pick up dinner,
Okay.
and yeah, it's definitely the flex pipe is leaking. It's
Okay.
funny because it's not super loud at certain points, but it's very loud
Other
at
times.
other points.
Yeah.
Like and that super loud, buzzy, terrible flex pipe broken.
Sure.
But
How's the
when
rest of
it
it sound?
doesn't,
Yeah.
when you can't hear that, it does sound really good from the rest of the
Excellent.
exhaust. Like once it's sealed up, it should sound really good.
Oh, I'm excited
But
to hear that one's done.
yeah, I don't want to take it apart because one, I don't have time, and two, there's a track day coming up, so I might as well just drive it as is
Sure.
and see if something else blows out,
Yeah. See
uh,
if it falls all the way off.
and then I'll just fix
Drive
it all at
all the way
once.
home from the track in like open header.
I hope not.
That'd be loud.
um, I did like jump on the highway to go pick up dinner. It does feel different. Like there was definitely like a restriction in the exhaust. It feels pretty good.
Well, I was reading about that header, and like in period tests, like in like 2005, they said it was like 8 to 10 horse just a header alone.
Yeah, and then
So
you got to figure that exhaust is way more free flowing.
sure.
Um,
Yeah. Exhaust doesn't always do a ton on a naturally aspirated car, but I was impressed by 8 to 10 horsepower out of a header, and that was all like dyno tested, like Sport Compact Car Magazine stuff.
yeah, and you got to figure if that was restrictive enough that it blew the muffler up, like the muffler blew out because
Hmm.
that was being restricted. So um, yeah, it revs a lot quicker up high, especially.
Excellent.
So it felt pretty good. I mean, it's not like
Desired result.
turbo car fast, but it's pretty good. And
Well,
definitely
it's never going to be.
and you could see or you could hear that it would definitely sound better. Like it would have more of a tuned race car sound once that little buzzy bit is gone.
Which is what you're looking for in the first place. So that's
Yes,
good.
exactly.
Excellent. Speaking of car sounds, I almost forgot to tell the story. I drove a Mach E yesterday.
Oh yeah, a
Yeah,
Maki.
the Mach E, the Ford Mach E Mach. Um, at the risk of offending the owner, it's not a very exciting vehicle.
Well, I don't think it's meant to be. It wasn't. It's not a GT.
No, but I mean, they put the name Mustang on it. Maybe my expectations were higher.
I don't know. Have you driven a six-cylinder Mustang?
I
Not
have.
great.
They're not good either. But
Yeah, supposedly the
it was
GT is pretty good.
it was nice. I'll give it that. I have a bone to pick with Ford. I don't like that their sport mode is called unbridled.
That's because of the dumb
Dumb
Tesla
Mustang
marketing.
name. It's
No, it's
unbridled
because
because a horse, and if
yeah,
you unbridle the horse,
I
then you
know
go
that's why
free.
it is, but it's dumb because people want dumb marketing names like Plaid. Like that's a stupid marketing name.
Well, it's not as offensive as unbridled. I thought unbridled was dumb. But anyway, a couple things I noticed with the car. And I'm not super familiar with electric cars. I've driven a couple. The difference when you change from like stealth mode, I think they call the quiet one, to like regular to unbridled is extreme in the inputs of the vehicle. So if you're driving around in like normal mode, the brakes are a little twitchy. You get used to it, but they're a little twitchy. And then you put it into like unbridled mode and you like just tap the brake pedal, you go through the windshield. It's
Huh.
There's like way too much of a change. And the unbridled mode also stiffens the steering up, but it doesn't give it any more feel. So it reminded me of driving a Eclipse or a Talon when the revs get too high and you over rev the power steering pump and it no longer works. So it's like, oh, I have nice clean power steering, and it's like, oh my god, it's too tight to turn. Like it just falsifies that sporty feeling. I didn't like that at all. That was a strange way to go about it because obviously it's electric power steering, I'm sure. So that was kind of off putting. One pedal driving, I think I would need some more time behind the wheel to be comfortable with that. That's for sure. But I think my biggest complaint and my only real disappointment, I could probably get over the rest, was the fact that I expected the car to feel fast. I think that's kind of the electric car thing, isn't it?
I guess.
I mean, I hit the gas and it pins you back in the seat pretty good for like
Yeah.
10 feet. And then the rest of the way to 60 is like very uninspiring.
Probably because they want people to die.
I don't, but yeah, but they make all these fast SUVs. I don't know if it's uninspiring because there's no drama. You know what I mean? There's no shifting, there's no noise, there's no anything. It doesn't, they don't want people to die, but you're going too fast too easily because you don't know you're going that fast. So when you're doing 60, you think you're doing 30 because there's not enough sensation to let you know you've gone that fast. I will say it's got a built-in ice chest in the front, which is kind of cool. So gimmicky but cool. Literally, it's an ice chest in the front, and it's got a drain in the bottom, so you can just fill it with ice. That's kind of cool.
Weird.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't know. I went into it wanting to like it. I think it's a good looking vehicle. It's comfortable. I don't think it's worth the price they go for. What it costs like 70 grand to buy one right now, right? Um, I came off thinking it was like a an electric Escape. You know what I mean? It's just at the end of the day, it's just a Ford SUV. It wasn't. anything special. Which I guess it's not supposed to be anything special, like you bring up. It's supposed to just be a Ford SUV, right? So
Exactly.
it just is a. I came off thinking it's a Ford Escape with an electric driveline. That's what it felt like, and it's strange. And I'm not anti-electric car, so don't take this as like, oh, it needs a gas engine and it's a Mustang. It needs to have two doors. Like I don't care. It is what it is. But I don't know. I went in expecting more and got less. I like it for its intended market. It's probably fine. I'm sure that uh, the owner of the vehicle doesn't care because she loves it and just gets her to and from work. It doesn't cost her anything in fuel. She was doing over 100 miles a day in a Durango, so it's significantly more efficient for them. But I don't know. I just it's not. I'm not there yet. I drove an e-Golf and I liked it a lot better. Put it that way.
Because it's a Golf.
Yeah, just a better car. And in their defense, they couldn't buy a Golf because they have a plethora of children they need to haul around, so a Golf wouldn't work so well. So I don't know. I'm indifferent on it. I'm glad I got to drive it. I appreciate the offer of driving it. I don't think it's for me. That's for sure. So I would still buy a e-Golf. Probably wouldn't buy a Mach-E. We're also talking about a $18,000 car versus a $70,000 car. So maybe that has something to do with it as well. But anyway, I've driven the future, and it feels like the current is quieter.
Yeah.
I guess cars are numb enough anyway. It doesn't matter anymore, right? I wouldn't
I
have driven a
suppose.
Ford Escape and been like, "Yeah, this car's great." Although, actually, if I drove a
No,
Ford
you wouldn't
Escape,
have.
I probably wouldn't have talked about it in the podcast. So, hey, here we go.
Yeah, you got to remember that it's just basically traffic. It's not
Yeah,
a enthusiast car.
yeah. Hopefully, I'll have a better report next week because I'm spending all day Sunday in a brand new Toyota Supra. So,
If you were to drive, like when it came out, a '64 Mustang V6, you would have been
inline six.
like, whatever. You would have been pretty meh too.
I'm sure I would have. You're probably right. But had I driven a '65 Ford Mustang 289 4 speed, I probably would have been like, "All right, I get it. This car's rad."
Exactly.
I probably would have said rad because it was 1964. I probably would have said
Boss.
the bee's knees.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm spending all day Sunday in a new Supra, so hopefully that'll be nicer. But
Okay.
yeah, that'll be fun.
Interesting.
Yeah. More news next week on that front.
Yeah. I'll hear about that. All right. That's a podcast.
Excellent.
So follow us on Facebook, Auto Off Topic Podcast. Auto Off Topic on Instagram. That's probably the best way to find us and the best way to reach us. Or
Actually,
come hang out. Come hang out in the Discord.
Discord is the best way to reach us.
Yes, it is. Um, and Brad, where can they find you?
They can find me on the Auto Off Topic Discord or
All
at
right.
my Instagram page of TSISS350. And I also post a ton on the Scale Autocast page, which is our stillborn extra podcast about scale cars.
It's
We'll get
coming.
there.
It's coming.
We'll
It's
get
coming.
there. It's just effort, time, and it's now summertime for Andrew. So we've barely found enough time to record this podcast lately, it seems like. So it's a little bit difficult right now. We'll get there.
Yeah. All right. So
Dedication.
you can follow me on the Discord and Instagram, Raceninger. And yeah. So as always, keep cars analog and aim for the roses.